If you are listening to this podcast right now, I am going to assume that you've also heard of these things called TED Talks. If you haven't, think of a TED Talk like a 20-minute visual podcast episode, essentially. Experts in their fields from all over the world get on stage at TED conferences and for 20 minutes give an educational talk about their stories and their expertise. Our guest today gave one of these TED Talks back in 2008, and little did she realize that her talk was going to change not only her life, but the lives of millions all over the world.
I grew up to study the brain because I have a brother who has been diagnosed with a brain disorder, schizophrenia. And as a sister, and later as a scientist, I wanted to understand, why is it that I can take my dreams, I can connect them to my reality, and I can make my dreams come true? What is it about my brother's brain and his schizophrenia that he cannot connect his dreams to a common and shared reality, so they instead become delusion? So I dedicated my career to research into the severe mental illnesses.
Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor was working as a brain scientist at Harvard University when one morning in 1996, she woke up feeling not quite like herself. She quickly realized that she was having a stroke. Because of her background in neuroanatomy, Dr. Taylor was able to essentially observe what was happening inside of her brain while the stroke was taking place. As a result, Dr. Taylor recovered from her stroke with a completely new perspective on life and how our brains work. This invaluable insight spread like wildfire. Dr. Taylor's TED Talk was the first to ever go viral on the internet, being watched almost 35 million times. In the months to follow, Dr. Taylor was named one of Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world, became a New York Times bestselling author with her memoir, My Stroke of Insight, and was interviewed by Oprah as the first ever guest of Oprah's Soul Series webcast.
I'm talking to Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, who wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. It's called because she had a massive stroke and remained conscious the entire time and lived, obviously, sitting here with me now, to write about it.
What I love about today's story is it goes beyond the information in the TED Talk. Dr. Taylor and I have an intimate conversation about what's going on in the world today amidst the COVID-19 crisis and why our brains are reacting to it with constant loops of stress and anxiety. Most importantly, Dr. Taylor shares how we can stop the never-ending cycle of anxiety in our brains, take back control, and learn to embrace the present moment again. She teaches us how to accept the worries our brains manifest because they're there to keep us safe. But she also stresses the importance of quieting the mind and trusting your intuition. This is called whole brain living. You're listening to the Cultivating Curiosity podcast, where everyone has a story to share. This is the story of Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor.
So the brain is made up of these two magnificent hemispheres, and they are completely separate from one another in that they do not share any cell bodies. They communicate with one another through some 300 million axonal fibers so that each hemisphere knows what's going on in the other one, but they are separate entities. As such, they process the same information coming in through our sensory systems in completely different ways. The right hemisphere is all about right here, right now, this moment, this experience. So you can bring your mind by choice to the present moment. You can look around, you can see movement patterns happening in the environment. You get an overall sense of lighting. You can feel yourself open and expand to what's happening right here, right now. And right here, right now is a perfect moment. Everything is okay, probably, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. And so we have a sense of peacefulness, a sense of calm, a sense of gratitude, a sense of present moment peacefulness. So that's going on in the right hemisphere. And that's always going on. It's always available for us to bring our mind, consciously choose, bring your mind to the present moment. The left hemisphere takes that present moment experience of all the information and says, okay, I'm going to create boundaries and borders between things so that when I look out into the woods, now I'm realizing, oh, I'm looking through my windows. My windows have a different depth. They're a different color. There's a detail base. And the same thing happens for me. My brain says, from a group of cells right here in your left brain, this is where I begin and this is where I end. This is me. Mm-hmm. And these are something that are not a part of me. They're something that I can interact with and use, but this is not me. So the left brain is defining the boundaries of where do I begin and end. And another group of cells actually defines me as the individual Jill Bolte Taylor. This is who I am. This is my phone number. This is my address. This is my education. On that hierarchy of when I compare myself to other people and other things, where am I on that? Am I smart enough? Did I get the right education? Do I make enough money? Do you make more money than I do? How big is your house? This is how big my house is. We're comparing one another on that hierarchy. So the two hemispheres have completely different values. The right hemisphere values the experience of the present moment. The left hemisphere appreciates the details, the organization of those details, and the linear of thinking through the use of language, and also on a ladder of hierarchy.
Great. So I feel like in Western society, and I'm also speaking personally for myself as well, we rely so much on that left hemisphere because I know personally speaking, I find control and safety in things that can be described by logic and things that have facts surrounding them. And because of that, and this is something that I'm working on and through this podcast is also another outlet for me to do that, is I'm trying to trust my intuition, but it's really hard to trust that intuition or inner knowing when you rely so much and find safety around the left hemisphere. And so I want to know from your expertise and your knowledge, what is the intuition and where does that intuition or that inner knowing essentially come from?
So you're a young person and you're a part of a society that is skewed to the values of the left. When the boomers came in, we said, okay, the world is our oyster. There's a hierarchy. We're going to work hard. We're going to put in a 50-hour, 60-hour, 80-hour week. We're going to wear bags under our eyes like the badge of work and discipline and organization. We're going to climb that ladder and we're going to get bigger houses and we're going to get more money and we're going to get a boat and we're going to get this, we're going to get that. And that's the left brain value structure, as opposed to the right brain value structure, which is much more about the right here, right now, present moment experience. Now, I all of a sudden have a storm hitting.
Okay.
You give me a minute.
Okay, take your time.
All right.
That good old Midwestern weather.
we're getting creamed here.
Oh no. I know my parents the other day got like an inch and a half of rain within like a matter of a few minutes.
Yes. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. Let me run downstairs real quick.
Okay.
I just want to make sure windows are closed.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. When it gets like this, it's like, okay. So now for intuition. So it's my intuition that is telling me alarm, alert, alert, present moment, big picture, and running through all the possibilities of what can happen right here, right now, not in fear, but in an awareness. The right hemisphere is so open and expansive that its overall perception is in a moment, but a moment isn't like this. A moment is an experience. And so that intuitive knowing is something that doesn't use language. It doesn't have an alarm, alert, alert. Jill, there's a huge storm hitting. Make sure all your windows are closed. Are we safe? Are we tethered well? But it's that feeling in your gut that says, look around, pay attention, do what you need to do in the present moment in order to have the most positive outcome that you can have. So intuition is that knowing and that communication through your gut and through your chest, and just knowing, yes, this feels right or this doesn't feel right. And it's on the big picture expansive, not focused on the detail.
So that intuition comes from essentially the right hemisphere.
Exactly. And the right hemisphere we learn kinesthetically through movement, because it's the big picture of what I am in relationship to everything around me as a part of me. And so it's about the flow and being in the flow, and it's in relationship to the fluidity of the body. So if I'm going to learn a new sport, then I can read about it with that left brain. I can learn the different parts of a racket. I can I can watch a video on how to hold that stick, but then I ultimately have to get into my right hemisphere and go hit a ball and feel different things and try a whole bunch of things that are wrong in order for that variety to go into the brain as possibilities. And then eventually I can become smooth in my movements, because now I've tried it all. I've tried all those possibilities.
So it's really just a balance, right? Like a game between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere.
They're both happening all the time, but your focus is generally one or the other. For example, as I look into the world, I have each eye is representative of both hemispheres. So the process of vision is stimulating both of my hemispheres simultaneously. As we speak, the fiber comes in and then it bifurcates so that both hemispheres, one will be more dominant than the other, but both hemispheres are getting that bi-aural, both sounds from both ears at the same time. So they're getting a lot of the same sensory information, but when it comes down to the fine tuning, essentially, of that data, there are specific groups of cells that zoom in on the specificities and on the detail, or expand and open to bigger possibilities and place that information in a bigger context.
So really, like, your whole mission is to teach people, because I believe that a lot of people unfortunately are narrowed in on that left hemisphere and all those details, and they don't really see the big picture. And once again, I'm speaking for myself. And So your whole goal and mission is to really teach people that, hey, this right hemisphere is here. It's possible to tune into this and to tune into the bigger picture and that flow.
Whole brain living.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Brain living. You want to use all of it.
Yeah.
Doing the details is not a bad idea. Using the left brain, which is the voice of authority, and the voice of authority in our world comes in when you master the language of the details of your specific field of expertise. So it's not just that you can tell me everything there is about thread count in sheets, but you can verbalize that to me and tell me stories so that I can understand it and take it into a bigger context, and then take it into my life and say, okay, well, based on my living style and what I'm looking for, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a more dense thread count, or am I looking for something that's a little looser? And that will be an individual, but it takes both of these magnificent hemispheres to take all that detail, all that authority, but then expand it into the bigger picture. And I think that's why good salespeople in particular, they're going to be more whole brain, because you can't just tell me all the details. You have to help me apply that to the bigger picture of how do I live, what's right for your client, what matters to me. Same thing in like buying anything. If you can help me understand, I'm going to come in and I'm going to say, I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they're going to say, okay, well, but what about X, Y, and Z? And it's like, well, X, Y, and Z will be into the bigger picture of what am I really looking for, and how do I prioritize what my A, B, C, D, E, F, G was. So it's both of these hemispheres with those 300 million axonal fibers working together so that each hemisphere knows what's going on in the other. But it really boils down to who are you based on what are your values. And the two hemispheres value different things. The right hemisphere values the present moment, quality of life, the deep experiential, the peacefulness, the ability to really spend time and communicate, slow down, and allow yourself to feel that expansiveness inside of yourself in being in the present moment, and the richness of what is right here, right now. There's a deliciousness of the moment, and there's a sense of gratitude that goes with that in that right hemisphere. But that beautiful left hemisphere then comes online and says, well, I have some goals, and these are my goals, and this is how I define meaning. And so in order for me to obtain my meaning or my value, if I put my value, my personal value in that left brain, and that left brain defines me, the individual, in the first place. My right hemisphere doesn't care about me, the individual, at all. It cares about the experience of all of us. It's more the community. It's more of the Native American thinking, which was every decision we make, we think about it for 7 generations out. And if it's right for them 7 generations out, then that's the decision that we make. It's not about me and mine and right here, right now, and instant gratification and how much money can I have in my bank, and it's me against you and high competitive and you know, the we versus the they. So there are these two very different ways of perceiving the world, and there's meaning and connection and contentment in that right hemisphere. And it's the left hemisphere that says, you know, I'm in the rat race. I don't really like the rat race. I want to participate in the rat race because I don't want to be left behind, but that's not what I really value. So I don't have meaning. I'm looking for, what is my purpose? What is my meaning? How do I use me to make the world a better place when I'm just competing, and it's a me against you? Mm-hmm. So we have these very different ways of being in the world.
So how someone who is in that rat race, but they know that their life is meant for something bigger and they want more meaning in their life, but they're so reliant on that left hemisphere, like how would you suggest in talking to that person listening to really start applying more of that right hemisphere into their life?
I think it all boils down to how much do you want it? If you know deep inside, in your dark hours of going to sleep at night, and your mind is your mind, whatever the day has been, or those early morning hours of waking up and it's a new day, a new beginning, how much joy are you actually feeling? And it's not joy about how big is my house, or how much money do I have in the bank account. Real joy is, and that actually is how we measure happiness, not joy. So happiness is based on our externals. How happy am I? Well, how happy am I? How much of what I wanted do I have? Well, that's not what joy is. When you wake up with an internal joy, you just kind of roll over and you giggle a little and you say, oh my God, I'm alive again today. Wow, I get another moment. I get another maybe cup of coffee. Wow, I get to experience. I get to pet my little dog. I get to have life. I get to connect, reach out and connect to the people I love. And how much joy is there in your life? And it's an individual decision for everyone. But the thing about the brain is that it's all cells, and every ability we have because we have cells that are performing some function. And if my left brain is what I'm running, then it just starts to run on automatic after a while. It has learned its routine, and I don't even have to think about it. I get up, I start my day, bam, 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 bam. I just do my life. The right hemisphere, it needs to be practiced as well. So it's kind of like, well, excuse me, the more you do meditation, the easier it gets to actually sit in one place. Mm-hmm. Forget trying to quiet that left brain. Just sit there and think about doing nothing. And the left brain comes on and it says, this is such a waste of time. I don't know why we're even here. I mean, we got to do this, that, and the other. It's like, could you make a list? Can we make a list while we're sitting here doing this? And it's like, no, just sit and breathe and think about your breath and watch that left brain just go on and on and on. And then stop listening to it quite so much and bring your mind and your attention to whatever is around you. And don't analyze it, just be there and breathe deeply and feel your whole world start to slow. There's a slowness about that right brain, because as it slows, it opens into this magnificent experience of right here, right now, expansiveness. And there's such a beauty in that. There's such a peacefulness in that, because ultimately, when I really go into that expanded space, this isn't the beginning and where I end anymore. I am an energy being in relationship with all the energy around me and that tiny little group of cells in my left brain that says, yes, but this is where I begin and end, and it's all important about what's going on over here and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, allow yourself to expand. And as you expand, there's just this delicious richness and excitement that happens in that present moment. Not really a calmness, but a wholeness. Mm-hmm. And to be held in that wholeness, to become a part of that which is greater than I, and that I am a part of, where I move and I have my being. It's just there's meaning there's connection there, and in that peacefulness can come amazing insights and intuitions that I can look at my big busy life and say, I was going to do this, that, and the other to accomplish this, that, and the other, but wouldn't it be more contributory to who I am and more meaningful as a human being if instead of doing that, I did it this way with this and those people, and I might not make as much money, but in the long run, when you follow your heart, when you follow your spirit like that, new opportunities open up, because there's a whole different playing field of people who do it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you mentioned meditation, because that's a way that I practice tapping into my right brain, and that's the way my boyfriend practices and all my friends practice. It's such a beautiful thing to do every single day, and I love that you mentioned that that's a great way to tap into that right hemisphere.
Meditation is a great tool, and mindfulness. I mean, just being aware that where is my mind? What am I thinking? How fast am I thinking? What does it take for me to actually take a breath and slow down without a glass of wine, without an external, just me in relationship with me. And that relationship that I have with myself, the most important relationship any of us has, is the relationship between our own left hemisphere and our own right hemisphere. And if we like one another and they're in relationship one another, then we can accomplish anything we want to accomplish. But if it's just that left brain and it rejects or squashes down or disrespects that right brain, then we're really on the road to no intrapersonal peace and joy.
It's a lifelong practice.
It is. It's a moment by moment practice.
Yeah, that's great. So I want to transition, now that we have a better understanding of those two hemispheres and how they play together. I want to transition into the patterns that play on repeat within our brains, specifically around anxiety patterns, fearful thoughts that come up, old beliefs that are holding us back. Like, that's stuff that none of us want to experience, but it seems like sometimes we have those days where we just feel stuck. Like, we'll never get out of this pattern. So first of all, where are those patterns stored within our brain, and how are they stored in the first place?
So think about that brain as this magnificent collection of cells. So when I think, I'm a cellular neuroanatomist, so I think about everything in terms of cells. And cells communicate with other cells in circuits, and circuits communicate with other circuits in networks, and networks communicate and create a hemisphere. And then a hemisphere communicates with the cells and the circuits and the networks of the opposite hemisphere. And then we have this whole brain. So every ability we have because we have cells that are performing that function. And we have an anxiety circuit. And we have two emotional limbic system cells inside of each hemisphere. And then we have higher cognitive thinking cells in each of those hemispheres. And so our anxiety, in our limbic, our emotional system, we have these groups of cells called the amygdalae. There's two, one in each hemisphere. So information right now is streaming in through our sensory systems, and it's going directly to the cells of those amygdala. The right amygdala is looking at that information and saying, in this moment, am I safe? Am I safe? So just a moment ago, when the storm hit, my right amygdala went off and said, am I safe? Are we safe? What do I need to do in order to do that? My left hemisphere is saying, Jill, you're in the middle of an interview. It is not appropriate for you to get up and run around your boat and prepare for the storm. And my right brain is going, she's a nice chick. She's going to understand. I need to be safe in the present moment. So this is the conversation going on inside of my own head between these different groups of cells. So my right hemisphere is looking around going, am I safe in this moment? What do I need to do in order to make myself safe? And my left hemisphere amygdala cells are turning on, and they're saying, it's a big storm. What's the direction of the rain? How much wind is blowing? Am I tied down well? I'm going through the list of my tie downs. It's taking care of all the details, comparing the present moment experience with the past. So I have this magnificent tool in my left hemisphere to say, how much of this feels familiar, and how do I compare it to storms from my past, when all my right hemisphere cares about is, what do I need to do in order to be safe? Am I safe? Where's my dog? Are we okay? What's going on? Are we okay downstairs? So that's the conversation going on between those two hemispheres. The anxiety circuitry that we are experiencing, because now there's a coronavirus, right? And it's small and it's tiny and we can't see it. So we've got this alarm, alert going on. Am I safe? my right hemisphere amygdala is saying, am I safe right here, right now, where I am, my present moment? And my left hemisphere is saying, okay, this can't be good. The last time there was a major kind of coronavirus was SARS, and it had a pretty high death rate, and it was miserable death. It wasn't good. And then if you go all the way back to 1918 and you go back to the Spanish flu, millions of people died, and they were horrific deaths. I mean, it was just really bad. And if you study these kinds of things, then you know, I mean, it was like really bad. And so my left hemisphere is going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, there's a virus out there. We don't really know much about it. What news do we even listen to? I mean, we're getting, and it's like alarm, alarm, alert, alert. I'm not safe. Oh my God, I can't even see it. It's tiny. I don't know if anybody's bringing it. I don't know if the people I love are going to get it. I don't know if the people I love are going to die. I don't know if I'm going to die. Nobody knows how our body's going to respond. Stress, 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 left hemisphere, alarm, alarm, alert, alert, anxiety, anxiety. Oh my God. And then we become irritable because, oh my God, there we are. And it's like, woo!
Oh my gosh. I mean, that really is describing my life.
That's exactly what it's doing.
Everybody's life. It's so true. And I think it's because since our brains are wired for survival, that's all we focus on is that fear, those little details of, oh my gosh, what could go wrong?
Oh, and it's 24/7. If you want to turn it, you can get on YouTube and watch a million things, and you can get on the news and watch a million things, and it's all horrible, and The Economist, and it's all horrible, and I mean, it's just all horrible, and it's like, oh my God, even if we don't die, then we're going to live through, the banks are going to blow up, and everybody's going bankrupt, and it's just horrible, and oh my God, how am I going to get my food? I need to go out, and I need to buy a lot of food right now, but I don't have any money, so how am I going to get food? And it's like, oh my God, I'm so vulnerable, I'm going to die, and it's like, and we're not sleeping well because our left brain won't shut up, and it's like, oh my God, now I got to turn on the news again because I can't sleep, so I might as well watch some more news, and then I'm seeing their blood clots and brains are exploding, and it's like, oh my God, and it's not just the old people, it's the young people, and now the kids, and it's like, oh my God, that's exactly what's going on.
Absolutely. But even like outside of coronavirus, right? Like we have those worries that are constantly there, essentially like wiring themselves. That's the way I visualize it. Wiring themselves into our brain and creating these patterns where we're in a situation years down the road where that fear is no longer valid, but of course it's still triggered and it still comes up, and our body knows no different. Our body feels that fear and it feels that anxiety, and these are the patterns that we get stuck in, that we want to get out of so badly. And so essentially I think that these are habits. Would you agree? They're just essentially habits.
Habit is a group of cells that have wired themselves in a circuit. And so when stimulation comes in, it jumps on the track and the track runs like a train. And so because you've been doing it for 20 years, any stimulation at all now comes in, trips the trigger, and off goes the track. So part of it is paying attention to what are the circuits that you're already running. At any moment in time, there are only three things going on in your brain, period. You think thoughts, you think emotions, you feel emotions, and then you run a physiological response to what you're thinking and what you're feeling. So you think a thought, and if it's from the past or maybe even from the present now, it's linked to an emotion. So let's say I have a thought, I think virus, oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh, what does that feel like in my body? It feels like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Freak out, right? Stress, boom. So that's going to trigger the stress circuit, which is going to dump something into my bloodstream that's going to flood through me, flush out of me. The thing is that from the moment you think the thought, then you have the emotion, and then you have the physiological response. From the beginning until this is flushed out of your body is less than 90 seconds. It's less than 90 seconds. So what that means is that you're a machine. You're an organic biological machine with cells running in circuits. Something comes in, stimulates the fear. Fear dumps in noradrenaline, runs through your blood, flushes out of you. But you can stay angry or sad or mad or happy for longer than that if you rethink the thoughts that re-stimulate the loop. But if you recognize this is energy, any emotion I'm experiencing is energy running through a circuit in my brain. And it's just a circuit in my brain. It's just a group of cells that have been programmed to save my life. So it's a good thing that I have it, but I don't need to run it all the time because that causes the stress circuit, which is push, 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 push with no pause. We're a biological creature. We're programmed to have a push and then a pause and then a push and then a pause. And if we allow ourselves to do a push and a pause, we can live well and live healthy, because then the system has time to recover. It's not just push it, push it, push it, push it, deplete it. It's push it and then pause for recovery. Push it and then pause for recovery. So when you recognize that you are a biological creature, beautifully designed with these beautiful amygdala to stay alert, to recognize alarm, alarm, alert, alert, the left hemisphere says, I need to prepare for whatever might come. There are some precautions that I can take. So give your left brain those precautions. Wear a mask. It's a tiny little virus. It wants to go into your respiratory system. If you cover your mouth and your nose and your eyes with glasses, then it isn't going to just go into your gullet. It's probably going to land on one of those tiny little fibers, making up the weave, making up the weave of that mask. And so the virus gets caught on that mask instead of going into your system. Take a precaution. If you're going out in public, wear a mask. In the event that you may have already had this thing and you don't know it, or you've had this and you do know it, or you actively have this thing and you're walking around, you don't want to make it contagious for everybody else. So wear a mask for you to contain it and for other people out of respect for them. Wear glasses or some kind of goggle. It's about time that we all looked a little alien in America. We've never done this. The whole rest of Asia's been wearing masks for how long? It's like, and now it's a badge of honor. It's like, I do this for you. I do this out of respect for me. I do this out of respect for humanity. Cover your eyes with some kind of glasses or goggles. Cover your nose with a mask. And wash your hands regularly, and just do the little simple things that they tell you to do. The virus doesn't like sunshine. So if you've been out and about and you've been at the grocery store, strip off your clothes and put them outside and let the sun denature the protein of that virus. Or throw your clothes in a dryer and let the heat destroy that virus. Little things that you can do. Take those precautions and recognize I did it. I'm doing my best. And I'd like to paint that picture with Bob Ross because, it's been years since I've done that. And it was like so much fun when we did it. And it's like, yeah, I still got those toys downstairs. Let's go paint with Bob Ross. Or I got that big old closet that I haven't cleaned out in a long time. Okay, I'm going to go clean out that closet. Allow yourself to settle. Listen to your left brain. Listen to its concerns. Listen to its precautions. Take its advice. Do those things and then say, thank you. Thank you for saving my life. Keep an eye out there for other things that I can do. But right now, I'm going to go play because I don't have to be at work today.
Mm-hmm.
Bring some joy into your life. And as you bring joy into your life, your immune system says, I am healthy. I am healthy. And stress constricts and restricts and helps just diminish the overall health and well-being of that immune system.
Absolutely.
So use both halves of what you are. Whole brain living. Use both halves of what you are.
I love that, Dr. Taylor. Like really just giving a different perspective to those fearful thoughts or those patterns, especially around COVID-19. I think just really allowing to see them in a different light. It is okay. These fearful thoughts are not here to just make me miserable. They're here to actually save me. I think that really, it alleviates automatically so much stress.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, what would you do? It's no different than you whack your foot, you whack your leg and you bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay, so what is that? There's pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pain. Well, pain is just cells down there have broken And inside of them, when they break, they let out these little particles that stimulate the nerve endings that say, pain. We need some attention down here. We got a problem. And so you feel the pain and you look down and you go, oh, I cut myself. I need to tend to that because now that's an open wound and I need to tend to the open wound. And so I tend to the open wound and I do what I need to do. And the warning, the brain is happy because you paid attention.
Yeah.
And that's all is going on with anxiety. Alarm alert, I need your attention. Alarm alert, I need your attention. It's not alarm alert, I need you to run the alarm alert all the time. I need you to pay attention, take some precautions, and then I'll settle down.
And sometimes it's just as simple as, I'm a big believer, and I know that you are as well, of observing those fearful thoughts and those instead of engaging with it, because you have how many millions of thoughts that come through your body every single day and through your mind. You will go crazy if you engage with all of those thoughts. So it's really just practicing, okay, just because I have this really scary thought right now doesn't mean I have to engage it and feel those emotions and feel that those stress chemicals course through my veins. Like you have the choice, as you say, to step into that right hemisphere and to be relaxed and not engage and be victim to those thoughts.
That's right. And when you do have those thoughts, allow them their 90 seconds. Look at your watch. Say, oh, I'm starting to feel angry. We know when anger's coming on. You know when anger's coming on. Your intuition is saying, I'm getting angry right now, right? You feel it in your chest. You feel it in your belly. You feel it in your jaw. You feel it in your forehead. And you're having thoughts and you're on the pathway. Well, that's the trigger of that 90-second cycle. And so observe it and admire it and respect it. It's magnificent. It is a part of your brain to save your life. Say thank you to it. And it responds. What I've found is that the brain is like this collection of little children. And when they do something, they want to be seen and they want accolades. It's like, thank you. You did that so well. Thank you. And then they go away and they do whatever. They're distracted now. But if you're alarm, and you never attend to what it's alarming about, it's like a child that is just going to keep its temper tantrum going because its needs are never heard.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to really just give us a whole different perspective on what we're going through in today's society, but also for years to come, because we're all going to have those insistent worries and fears that are going to pop up. So this is great knowledge that we can take with us even outside of COVID.
Good. Yeah. Now, this is about your brain. It's this beautiful masterpiece. Yeah. Enjoy it. It doesn't have to bring you terror constant. It doesn't have to bring you stress all the time. It doesn't have to bring you anxiety all the time. You don't have to live in all that pain. You don't have to suffer all the time. You don't have to. Suffering is a circuit. It's a circuit inside of your brain. It's a group of cells that say, reality is not as I want it to be, therefore I must be in pain. And we can have physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, cognitive pain, and torment. I mean, we can have all these different kinds of pain. But the right brain says, but I'm alive. I'm alive and I'm capable of having this experience. As horrible as my left brain might think it is, I get to experience horrible. Isn't that amazing?
I love that. That is true definition of whole brain living.
That is whole brain living.
That is it right there. Thank you so much. Before you go, I have one more question, and this is a question I ask all of my guests. Okay. Is the name of my show is called Cultivating Curiosity. Yes. And I cultivate curiosity through talking to amazing people like you and just learning and really just benefiting my life and everyone else's life that's listening to the show. And I'm curious how you, Dr. Taylor, cultivate curiosity in your life.
Oh, constantly. I live in the present moment. And when you live in the present moment, you never know what's coming. And you don't care what's coming. You're not afraid of what's coming. It's whatever comes, instead of stopping you, it gives you that spark of saying, I want to know more about that. So I live on a boat, and my generator has a tendency to blow up every now and again. And I can look at that, and my left brain just totally, oh my God, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted. I want to go to bed. It's dark. It's raining. And my right brain says, gee, I wonder if I can figure it out. I wonder if it was, I wonder what system, is it the gas system? Is it the electrical system? Is there a part that needs to be replaced? I wonder if I already have one of those parts. When I was a little girl, so I was born in 59. Everybody's doing math right now. I'm 61. When I was a little girl, Nancy Drew books were enormous. Are you even familiar with Nancy Drew?
Of course, yes.
Okay. So what Nancy Drew, because they started in like the late 40s, and then they were in the 50s, and they were in the 60s, and they were in the 70s, and they were in the 80s, and now they're movies, of course. But what those books did was, and there's like 56 in the original package, but what they did for generations of little girls, generations, 40 years, 50 years, your years of little girls, was Nancy's living her life, and then something happens. And Nancy looks at it, and most people would just say, and go the other direction. But Nancy looked at it with curiosity, and she went toward it. She went toward the problem. She went toward the question. She went toward the possibility of where will this lead me? This is a clue to something next. And what I love, and I encourage everyone to get their little girls, little boys too, but they won't do it probably, but the little girls, get them reading Nancy Drew, because it instills better than anything else I've ever seen to that spark of curiosity. There's the clue. Do I turn and walk away because it means nothing to me, or it scares me? Or do I walk towards it, pick it up and look at it and say, I wonder.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Anybody listening, if you know a little girl, start them young. Start them young on Nancy Drew. Read them with. They're fantastic. I read the whole series like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like, I'm just going to read them all. So I read like 56 of them in the course of 3 months. I mean, you can read them like that. There's nothing to them. They're magnificent. But for a little girl, I mean, it's an adventure, and it's fun and it's interesting. And you face the scary staircase, and you face the ghost, and you're curious about what is this really? And it's beautiful. So thank you for stimulating people on this journey towards curiosity. And curiosity is the right brain saying, I wonder.
Yeah. Oh, no, thank you so much for saying that, because that means a lot, because I just, especially in today's society, like we all have technology in front of us 24/7. And one of my favorite ways, like I just said, is cultivating curiosity through talking and conversation. And with the technology today, it's like virtually you have an option to make conversation with someone or to hide behind your phone, and too many people take the latter option. And so that was also one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to start this podcast was, hey, like, you don't know who you're going to meet, what type of story and knowledge and wisdom that they're going to share with you if you just look up from your phone and say hi, ask a question. So
yes. Okay, so on that note, I'm just going to let you know I'm finishing my second book.
Yeah.
And it won't be out until April of next year. But it's, I think, amazing. And it's not just amazing because of the contents about the 2 emotional brains and the 2 cognitive minds and getting to know them inside of yourself, but it looks at different generations and how generations have been impacted the development of the brain as these different characters inside of our brains. And there's this beautiful part about because millennials are like this big mystery to the boomers. And it's like, no, there's not really such a mystery based on how your brain was developed based on the technology available during that period of time. And actually, then your generation becomes completely seductive because it's a beautiful group of people if you understand them. You know what I mean? So really it's about exploring in the curiosity of our differences instead of the condemnation or the fear base that now is such a part of our rhetoric of, well, you're different from me, so you're bad and I hate you. And it's like, yeah. That's a left brain perspective. The right brain is saying, hey, you're different from me. You use different spices in your cooking. Can you share some of those with me? You know, I mean, it's just that willingness to be open to the differences or closed. And the left brain shuts down. It's looking for as differences as a bad thing. And the right brain looks for similarities and differences as an opportunity for curiosity.
I love that. And that's actually something I picked up when you were talking about just like the everyday experiences that you go through, like living on the boat, for example, the storm coming in. Okay, my left brain is saying this, my right brain is saying this, but the way you talked about it is you were accepting of both sides and both conversations. And I feel like part of the issue with a lot of society is that they want to repress what they view as the negative stuff, which essentially is the left brain, because that's that constant chatter, all the fear, all the anxiety. Instead of accepting what it has to offer, they just try to repress it.
Yes, which is completely wrong, because if you're all right brain, which I was after that stroke and I lost that whole left hemisphere, I was right here, right now, nirvana, peaceful, happy, joyful. I was completely non-functional. You have to have that left hemisphere. You have to have language. You have to have skills. You have to have 2 hands and 2 feet. Well, you don't, but it helps a lot. You have to be able to look at and take the big picture and dissect it down into the detail in order to be functional at all in the world. So you really want both. It's a matter of, how do I admire and respect all those different circuits that are trying to communicate with me? And if I did admire and respect them a little more, might they feel heard? And if they were heard, might they quiet themselves a little and allow me a little peace of mind to be in the present moment?
That's powerful. That's a question that a lot of people don't ponder. And I think that could be the answer to what people are searching for.
Yeah, so a whole lot of pain. Right now, it's like pain, make the pain go away. And it's like, pain doesn't just go away unless it's heard.
Wow.
And it needs to be loved. And it needs to have gratitude that there is pain, because otherwise my leg might need to be amputated. You know, I didn't pay attention to the pain. So the physical pain is really sending the same kind of message as an emotional pain. Listen to me, nurture me, hear me, do what I need you to do for me to feel safe. And then, Bob Ross. Yeah, I love that fro. Go paint with Bob Ross.
I love that. Dr. Taylor, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. It's been one of my favorite interviews. You are such an inspiration.
Good. So thank you for this, and take care of yourself, because you're on the East Coast and it's busy over there.
Yeah, it's definitely a little crazy right now. We will. Thank you so much.